This is AI Marketing Experts, where bold marketers and next-gen AI collide. Each week, join us as we decode trends, test tools, and share real wins from the AI-powered front lines. No fluff, no hype, just straight talk and smarter marketing. Tap subscribe and let's geek out on AI.
Hey, welcome everybody back to another exciting episode of the AI Marketing Experts podcast. So I've got my distinguished friends and panelists on today, as always, and we're kind of doing a year-end wrap-up. We're going to talk about how the rules have changed for businesses. And if you're not a follower of this channel and have watched all of it, you might have missed the memo. If somebody sent this to you because they care about you, and think you might have missed the memo as well, glad you're tuning in for the first time. And hopefully you stick around go back, check the past episodes and stick around. But yeah, we're going to do a year in review for 2025, because the game has changed. And I shared with the group this morning something that was my, to be brutally honest, because you guys like me being brutally honest, my toilet read this morning. And it was the Wall Street Journal and a little expose they did of AI in the wild. So yeah, I'll let Laura had some good comments. I'll let you chime in on what it was all about, just so I'm not the only one talking, and what you got out of it.
I found it's a video, and I'm sure we can share the link here in the comments. But this video showed how they put in a vending machine that was AI ran, and it was based on honesty and stuff. And it was going through, like, there's still this human element where the human had to stock it, but it was up to the AI agent to actually place the order and see if they could successfully run the business of this vending machine. And what was interesting is how quickly the humans broke it. And so when we thought that it was going to be the year of the agents, and we've been hearing so much, it was kind of a paradigm shift to pause and say, okay, if we're going to incorporate agents, again, we have to remember there's got to be a human in the mix to follow it. And then they take it a little bit further to say, and I know we'll get into some more details on this, but when they put two agents, so they basically had two agents running this vending machine, because the first time when people would actually push it and say, hey, let's have all this food for free, it allowed all the food to disappear. And then it started to see what was being asked to be ordered. And it got to the point where they actually ordered a live fish. So that really surprised everyone to see that a fish was ordered, as well as like a PlayStation. So it went from the extremes. So when they got the second agent involved, it was supposed to oversee the first one, and then they would work together and collaborate. But what was happening then is the humans were actually saying, hey, ignore the boss. You can just dismiss that. And so what they were showing in the end, this vending machine business lost a lot of money. So again, we'll talk a little bit about the ins and outs, but it comes to the fact that yes, agents are there. They are trained, but are they the end of all end on running our businesses? And absolutely not at this point.
They may very well hallucinate, as they call it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And it was through Anthropic, so Claude. So we'll hand it off to Chris, our Claude guru in the team, because they tried with 3.5, I think it was, and then or 3 point whatever, and then 4.5 was the upgrade when they added that director agent or whatever they called it. And it was the Anthropic team doing it with a Wall Street Journal reporter in the Wall Street Journal office. So it's like, and they were quite excited with the output, because that was the whole intent, was how well can these really good writers and thinkers, how quickly can they break it? How well can they get it to go rogue? And that kind of thing. So you work in Claude all the time in building, agents and Claude codes and all that kind of stuff. What did you think of it, Chris?
It didn't surprise me, because this should not come as a surprise to any of us in any model that's out there, because none of them are perfect yet, right? None of them are going to replace humans yet, right? I think that, because even working with Claude is one of the smartest models out there, and I like it because it knows me, right? That's really why I gravitate more towards Claude than anything else, because it truly knows me, and I've trained it on me and all that kind of stuff. It still messes up, right? It's like any of the models out there, it still messes up. So it doesn't surprise me whatsoever. Watching that video this morning, I was laughing just like Laura was. So, I think that as we move into 2026, right, and we start putting some of these agents out there, you need to do it with a grain of salt, small businesses, right? Because this is the year, as we're heading into it, I think that we really, really need to be considering what we can replace in our organizations with agents like that. But you've got to put some guardrails up. You have got to be monitoring it, because if the person who put that in place wasn't really truly monitoring it, it could have gone really, really bad, and it did, kind of like with the PlayStation and the fish and so forth. So,
context window is a big one, because that was the one the Anthropic fellow mentioned back to the reporter, was that he believes, we ran up against the context window, which is getting bigger and bigger. Remember in the day when the context window was you could barely type enough. As Brad keeps telling me, John, you're very verbose. I couldn't even put a prompt in the context window before I ran out of space. Or just speak it, let alone a context window of what I'd said before. Now there is, one of the platforms has 1 million character or 1 million token context window. I think that's Gemini's came out with 1 million now. And the next iteration is going to be 10 million. We know that, right? So what that means is, how far back can it look before it forgets? It doesn't have that thing. I've built a couple of AI brains, as they call it, one around the company in a project, and even talking to it, I said, where did we lose you? And it's like, my context window. What do I do going forward? When you get to a certain point, stop, use this prompt, have it collect everything, put that in a Google Doc on another tab, and I will use that as my shortened context for the next thing. So human in the loop, as you said, Chris, big thing. But on the other side of it, so again, where did we come in 2025? So that's like, hey, it's supposed to be the year of the agents. Hey, they're going to run your whole business and that kind of thing. And we know that it's got to have those guardrails. It's not quite there yet. All of that. But another story that just came out recently is how in Las Vegas, if you called a book at any hotel now, the chance of you talking to a real person or knowing if you're talking to a real person is minimal. It's you are booking with well-trained AI agents that sound human and real, putting you into the hotel, because they've got a fixed location. They know what they're doing. They've got rooms or they don't got rooms. It's pretty simple. It's not like a service business. Hey, do you want somebody driving from, 2 hours north of town to 2 hours south of town on the next job and stuff like that? There's a lot of training and guardrails that need on that I don't think is quite there yet. But in a hotel, the room's either empty or it's not. And they have, unfortunately, the Great Reset, employment reset and AI reset next year is all around how many of these things have replaced jobs that they can replace. So Brad, you're kind of the AI voice agent fellow around here. What is your thoughts of like, again, not only just the Wall Street Journal side of it, but now like even this added piece I just put in that Vegas is basically using AI agents to book rooms at bigger and bigger profit levels because they don't have to hire people. So
I think that there's a lot of good that happened in 2025. And I think we're all anticipating a lot of cool things coming in 2026. But like you guys both just shared, it's not foolproof. It's not something that we can 100% rely on every angle. But just looking back in the past year, voice AI agents or receptionists, as John mentioned, have come so far. They can do so much now, whether it's calls that are coming into your business, calls that are going, you can make outbound calls to your customers and different things. You can have that essentially robot receptionist, for lack of a better word, schedule on your calendar, send people texts. I mean, it's really advanced in a lot of ways. And so that continues to get better. The costs continue to come down. And that's a practical thing for a lot of businesses, Think about how much you may be losing money-wise if you're a small to medium business or any size business if your staff cannot handle the inbound calls. An agent, an AI agent, voice agent, can juggle 200 calls at the same time. So think about that in perspective. Your person that you're paying $20 an hour or whatever cannot do that, right? They also may be sick. They also have to go do something with their kids. They also may want to play hooky. I mean, the list is long of what a human can do when it comes to something like answering the phone. The other thing that I was thinking about, kind of going into the new year that John mentioned, is maybe some simple things for small businesses to adapt to right away. And that is, for one, for me, is using something where you're talking to your computer. That saves a lot of time for me. And it's a kind of a hard habit to break because you're so used to typing. I am, at least. Been doing it for so many years, but now I just hit a little button. It can literally transcribe what I'm saying, pretty 99% accurate in whatever application I'm in, right? Doesn't matter if I'm in an email or if I'm on Facebook or if I'm, and then some other software, I literally can use that. So that's something I would recommend for all businesses. I use Whisperflow, I think it's called. It's pretty inexpensive, and they just got a huge round of funding and what have you. I think I mentioned that one before. But the other thing that I've been exploring that John touched on was kind of like an AI brain, whether that's for you personally or for your business. I think that I feel that this is already here. We've talked about Notebook LM to a high level of what it can do, where you can really train it. You can, like John was just saying, you feed it all these Google Docs and videos and all these different things about your company. Let's focus just on company. Obviously you can use it for your fitness plan, or you can use it for your personal strategizing, or whatever you want to use it for. But for your business, you can upload all these different documents and different things in there, and then have it spit out different things based on that. So it's a brain where you're feeding it all this information. But I found another one recently, last night, that is it's similar in a lot of ways, but I really like it. It's called Recall. And what Recall does is you are literally saving YouTube videos, Google Docs, links, and it will automatically categorize and organize those things. Obviously, you can switch it around and change it up if you want. But it literally, you're building these little brains. So let's say you want one for your personal fitness. You want one for your automotive repair shop. Think about it this way. Like Laura just mentioned just a little bit ago, she was listening to a podcast while she was driving. She doesn't remember where it was, but she'll find it. But if she would have been able to save the podcasts that she listens to, it will automatically organize them. But the cool thing is let's say she saved a whole bunch of different podcasts and videos about personal development or something like that. She can now go in there and talk to this agent, for lack of a better word, and talk to that database of information to the point of, let's say there's 100 videos in there about this subject matter. Again, whether it's, let's say you are collecting videos about, auto repair things, tips, tricks, whatever. You have a little folder over there. You have one for personal development or whatever. You can then go into this software and talk to each one and say, by the way, I was thinking about oil change things that are strategies that could save time and money for me and my customers. Can you, look at my database about that and give me information? It will literally scan 100 videos or 100 documents or whatever it is in minutes. And you then start having a conversation with this AI about that subject. It can then literally pull up a 30-second clip from a YouTube video that you watched a year ago based on what you talked to it about. So I'll kind of close with this is, if you're looking to think of things that can save you time and maybe get your feet wet in AI, think about some of these tools where you can really start organizing your brains, because we all have different areas in our life that we want to focus on, right? Why not organize it and then have the ability to talk to this huge database of information? And it can then literally spit out a document and say, okay, I want my personal development strategy for 2026 based on all these different things that I've been looking at for the last year. Boom, it will spit it out. So It's kind of the typical.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of cool stuff there, and unpack a few of them. And I'll call on Jen because I think it aligns right with her. But so when you talk about voice, we started with that, and so somebody said, well, if I don't need anybody to answer my phones, then this is all going to solve business problems. Well, no. Do you ever have customers that are annoyed? Should a real human have more time to call them back and spend more time because the phone's not ringing? Oh, excuse me, I've got to answer that. Oh, anyway, sorry. Yeah. So you're really bothered? Oh, excuse me, because I got to answer that. You know what I mean? That happens in every office all the time. So these things don't mean that you just have to replace, Nancy in the front office, because it could be where it's triaging and qualifying people to then get handed over properly, and that kind of idea. The other part that you mentioned, Brad, was again, all of these tools that are available. Today, as I was coming here, I went and grabbed my coffee at McDonald's and was driving here for back to the office for this podcast. And my Google Home, I put myself on the list. My Google Home said, hey, you've finally been upgraded to Gemini in Google Home. So I'm in, and it's like, so here's what you can do now. I set it up while I was sitting down here. It took about 5 minutes, and I tested it with my Dot here, but I've got the whole house is wired with Google Home as well, and it's all connected to the office out here. And now I can ask full questions. I don't have that. I'm sorry, you didn't say that the right way. I'm sorry, you didn't. It's like you can have a conversation. You can go down rabbit holes. I changed the voice of it just by asking. I didn't have to go into the app anymore. I said, hey, I don't like your voice. Can we change a different voice? Hey, do you like this? Do you like, oh, that one's good. And we stopped and all of that stuff. So my point on that is, as people do what Brad said and start, whether it's business owners or your customers, if you're a business owner watching this, your customers are starting to use these AI tools in their cars, in their Google Homes, in their Alexas, in their things like that. This is that big reset. Consumers aren't searching anymore. They're asking now. So, and they're talking. So is your brand ready? Is your visibility ready? So 2025 was a watershed. It really feels like 2026 is the SWOT analysis for everybody's business. What are your strengths, weaknesses? What are the opportunities that you can make out of these threats that are literally going to change the dynamic of, I believe, pretty much every single business in existence in the next 12 months? What do you say about that, Jen? Am I being an alarmist?
If they adapt.
Yeah.
So John, I know you just asked a question, but I want to also mention what Brad mentioned about, having all of this information that we can just tap into. And I think one really good use case for that too, to keep in mind, is that as business owners, we have so much experience and just thought in our brains, but then we bring new people on board and they don't have our 20 years of experience. They don't know what's in our brain. And, we can have all the training, in the world. There's lots of really good training manuals out there and on the job training and all of that. But to have our own brain where our team members can ask it questions and use it to reply to customers, to create content for social media, to just all the things. Just what would Brad do? What would John do?
Yep.
That is a very boots on the ground use case that businesses can start putting into action today. I mean, most of us have a shit ton of documentation that we can start putting into a place that, that could turn into our brain like this. So
with our guardrails, so that it isn't where somebody goes rogue or they have to read 20 pages of brand guidelines to go, am I allowed to post that? Or, or whatever. Yeah.
Right. So of course, yes. Glad you mentioned brand guidelines because, of course you want to include things about your brand in there too. What do we stand for? how are we different? Like all of those things, those are vital aspects of what you want to put into your AI brain, I'll say. So very important.
I'm just going to build on that a bit, because as what we're talking about is, as we're wrapping up 2025, going into 2026, and thinking about, if you're sitting there as a small business owner listening, going, I'm not sure that my team knows what we stand for completely across the board, because they've, added team members or had some changeovers or whatever. Now is the perfect time to review that information and make sure it's readily available and documented to be loaded into whatever AI channel that you choose to use. So that way there's that consistency, and it does amplify your message and make sure that you stand out. And in that same podcast that we were talking about, that I will find a credit, but the gentleman said, we're not after clicks anymore. We're after credits. So again, you want the brand out there, so your brand is credited with that knowledge, and that you're putting that forward as an answer to everybody. So this is the perfect time to think, okay, do I have all my ducks in a row? Or, okay, how can I bridge some information gaps so that as you move forward in years to come, you have a great depository of all that information.
And just really quick,
go down that rabbit hole a little bit. Oh, go ahead, Jen.
Sorry, I just want to know what Laura said about the credits is just that our watchers, listeners are understanding credits, meaning that the AI is citing your business.
Citations.
Citations. Like you are the source for the information that they're putting in, or that the user is seen in
accreditation, probably the longer version.
Yes. Yeah. So just want to make sure that that's clear.
What we're talking about here is that so training up your team, or training up your vendors, or training up, the who not, ask who not how to get things solved. And like ChatGPT put in the study and learn. So if you hit the little plus, go to more, study and learn. You could build an AI agent, you can build a project, you do whatever, and then you can have a team member study and learn to learn more. Chris, what would they do? Like, what would somebody a little bit more advanced be thinking of as a company repository built out in Claude, in the folders, I'm forgetting the names. I don't use Claude as much as you, but all that's like the same idea, but at a much deeper depth, where you had the company knowledge base, Airtable brought in all that stuff that we've talked about before, and then allow a team member to actually study and learn that, so that you don't have to sit there with them and do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that was one of our big goals starting at 2025, was to document absolutely everything in our organization. Right. And that was our rock this quarter to finalize that. And I believe that we are about 98% there. So my plan with that, is to take all of those documents, to take all of those transcripts of people recording themselves doing their jobs and talking through it, right? Because that's how we started, the camcorder method, by Dan Martell. And essentially we went through and every single person went through every single task, what they do. They start out with the high level overview. This is what my job is, blah, blah, blah. And then kind of got into every single task. Well, we have every single one of those videos, right? Right now they're in Microsoft Stream, which, by the way, Microsoft Stream is actually pretty cool, because it gives you a transcript of every video that you upload into it, right? So it's just a matter of taking that transcript now and feeding it into an SOP custom GPT, if you will, right? To create those SOPs. But my plan here is that we can create a complete repository of all of those files, right? All of those transcripts, all of those SOPs. And I'm going back and forth in my mind. Do I use something like Airtable, or do we use something like, Notebook LM for that? It's the same idea. It's just how you're getting there, right? And on the different tools to use. But yes, to go to your point, if we use Notebook LM and someone needs to learn how to do the content manager seat, let's say, right, and how we manage our content process inside of the tools that we have right now, could I just send them over to Notebook LM and have them watch the training there? Probably.
Create the
If
interactive
Microsoft were any
podcast.
better,
Yeah.
if Microsoft were any better at AI, they would have that all built into Stream, but it is what it is.
We bashed Copilot last episode. I think we don't need to bash them again.
It's Microsoft. We can always bash them.
Fair enough.
You're awful quiet, Laura.
Oh, I'm just taking it all in, thinking that these are great options for business owners to start to think, okay, if we do have, or if they invest in a audio, some kind of recording device that they can go ahead and, even as sometimes over the holidays, offices tend to be a little bit quieter, and makes a perfect opportunity to kind of talk through what we do day to day. And anyway, so that would be an opportunity to kind of say, okay, while our phone's not ringing as much, anybody that is still working through the holiday hours, maybe they can also find time to record, because we know what happens in January. Everything is like that tidal wave, whoosh, and we kind of get I know in agriculture, it really speeds up. We have a lot of events kicked off right that very first week. So I think that there are tremendous recommendations. And even if you don't get done over the holidays, because of course, family taking time off, to also recoup and rejuvenate, re-energize, we understand there's what they say is the time to start is today. The better time, you don't want to wait much longer. So find time to record what you're doing and figure out how your team can be that much stronger, because they are not coming to you with every individual question. You can always say, stop, check and see what my brain said first. But again, human in the loop, you're going to stay very active, but capturing our years of experience, your years of experience as business owners listening matters.
Yeah. I think data is the most important thing in our world today. Like it's big companies, Palantirs of the world, Amazons of the world, all that stuff. The data is the thing that makes them uniquely different than anything else. They're how they hold, manage data, use data for next in their growth. And the companies that are being left behind right now aren't leaning into AI, aren't leaning into data, aren't seeing the trends of their consumers, how they're leaning into AI and data faster anything else that's ever hit human existence. So yeah, I think I think that's the point. That is, 2025 was cool. There's a lot of movement. There's a lot of mud. Things look like AI, this whole AI thing, maybe 10, 20 years from now, I can see it when the smartest people on planet Earth, Demis Hazzabon from Google DeepMind and Mo Gadet and Dr. Roman Yaplowski and all these fellows are going, oh, no, this is that moment that everything is actually seeming bad because we're expecting what is actually right under the surface waiting to push through. And then you have your hockey stick moment. And we're at that inflection point where everything is starting to change, and it does feel broken and messy and hallucinating and trying too hard and all that. But there is signs already perking up now that 5.2 is a good. ChatGPT 5.0 is so much better than 5.1. 5.1 got improved after it, but there's signs that Claude is just like doing its thing. Google has decided to jump ahead, and it's fast and furious and getting faster and faster around us, and easier and easier and easier for the consumer just to not even care about anything we talk about and just use it. Just talk to their car, as Brad says, on how many episodes, just talk to their car. And it's like, they might not, maybe it's how to drive, how to get to the restaurant, but it's like, hey, I eat, a low carb keto diet. What's available in the area here? What do you think? Kind of idea, not look through the menu and go, well, this one, Mark, it's like, well, what percentage of carbs do you like to be at? Well, not 20, but about 40, 50. Okay. Well, what have you eaten today so far? Could you imagine that conversation while you're just out driving? Or in the world of carpet cleaners, they're not going to come to your office unless you have an area rug studio or whatever like that, but they're still going to talk to their GPS in their car, or that used to be GPS, now just AI in their car, and say, oh, by the way, on my way home, I also need to hire a carpet cleaner. Who do we got around here that's any good? And that's how they're going to have, there's no keywords in that. Like it's a conversation. And if you don't have those brand signals, if you don't have that content, if you're not building on that, you're not chosen. It's the new word of mouth, and you're not in the word of mouth. They're not going to ask their neighbor anymore because they have this better than their neighbor knowledge thing on their, I guess Chris always says on that supercomputer on their hip. They've got it on, in their car. They've got it to walk around their home and have the conversation. And it's, I can't even imagine what the end of 2026 is going to look like if this is the beginning, like just that transition moment right now where it's just so easy.
So let me jump in here real quick. Right. So, you're saying that we're at this almost point of a hockey stick momentum here, right? Think back to 1995, right? And internet was just starting to get popular. In between 95 and 98, and I lived that time frame. We all of us on this, if you're Gen Z, sorry, this is what happened, right? Is that we were all enthralled by the possibilities of the internet. They at that time, they were talking the same stuff that they're talking right now, that the internet is going to kill businesses, right? It's going to kill the small business. That's the exact same conversation that was going on in the media at that time. Okay. 1998 hit, the .com bubble blew, right? And we didn't know at that time that was just another inflection point, that then the internet itself would then hockey stick up, right? And billion-dollar companies were born at that point. Imagine going back to 1995, knowing what you know now, right? That's where we're at now. We're literally at that point right now with AI. And if you haven't started really implementing AI in your, we're here for marketing. We're here to talk about marketing and AI and all that kind of stuff. But really in every single aspect of your business, if you haven't started doing that at this point, you're behind.
Yeah.
Okay. Everything that we talk about every single week is kind of leading up into this and really trying to push the point that AI, while it is great, it still, has its issues, but we're at that point right now, almost at 1998, at that bubble. Okay. And in the next year to 3 to 5 years, whatever that is going to be, it's probably going to be accelerated even faster. It might even only be in the next year to 2 years. There's going to be AI agents that are going to be built and they're going to become more mainstream and make it easier to be put on that $1,000 machine sitting in your pocket. It's going to be on your computer. It's going to be on your stupid refrigerator, right? It's going to be in your car. It's going to be everywhere, but it's going to be the same thing, right? So as small businesses, we all need to be thinking, how can we get in front of that? How can we get, like John said, recommended by those bots? How do we start positioning ourselves now for that? And I'm going to leave y'all here with something real quick. I'm going to share my screen. I don't want to take up too much, the time here. Let's see. How do I do a tab?
While he's looking that up real quick, I remember 95, and I remember for me personally, I didn't have a PC yet. Not until literally I wasn't around a PC till about 1998, and then all of a sudden it was like, whoa, it went fast from there. But most people didn't have a computer yet, and we certainly didn't have smartphones. So
no. Well, that moment of smartphone, just again, as well as you show this, Chris, 2008, we hit the recession. So October 2008, the debt bubble, the Big Short happened, all that kind of stuff. And just several months before, the iPhone showed up. These iPod music devices plus, flip phones and Blackberries and cell phones, all turned into Apple leading the field and said, what if we put it all together, make this really cool consumer device? The recession happened. Yellow pages were the thing in business. I was running carpet cleaning companies and maid service companies and janitorial companies, and we were spending $7,000 a month on yellow pages to be relevant. And by 2008 by 10, 2 years later, the recession is winding down. We had backed off on a little bit of our ads and did more grassroots and did like doubled down on our marketing, but backed off on a little bit of the spend on the yellow pages and things like that. But we still had to be in there. And now we're ready to ramp back up. The clouds have cleared. We're ready to ramp back up. You sign up again, you go back and crickets, because in that short window, even grandma and grandpa figured out how to use an iPhone and an iPad. Because they wanted to see pictures of their grandkids. They had a consumer use for it. Well, now it could be used for everything else. And now you didn't need the yellow pages because you could look it up on Google, and reviews became that first really new thing. That how do you find trust? Outsource it to other people. So again, back to that inflection point. So sorry, what did you want to show, Chris?
All right. No, I want to show you all this real quick. Okay. This was shared in, can y'all see my screen, by the way?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we're on Google Maps, and not really Google Maps, just Google itself. Right. And I typed in roofer near me. All right. And I'm sitting here in College Station, Texas. Okay. So it's showing me the regular map pack and organic and all that kind of stuff. Right. Interesting. There's no local service ads, but I don't want to go there just yet. What I want to make point of here is this online estimates button. Okay. You click on it, and now it's saying, okay, these people that I'm showing you here are the ones that can give you online estimates. Okay.
That's vital.
This is the beginning point of this whole feature.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's my thought, is that eventually this is going to be an agent that you can say, go find me 3 estimates underneath $15,000 for a new roof. Okay.
Yeah, it's possible.
And the websites are going to have, we're talking about using vibe coding and talk to your computer or talk to Gemini or whatever to build online estimate machines for your website. Marcus Sheridan talks about that, where people want to self-serve themselves to the point of ready to buy. And then they don't mind interacting with somebody to buy, but they want to have all that information and know they're making a good decision. But they just don't want to spend 2 or 3 hours anymore looking at 50 websites and taking notes and all that. They just want to have a conversation or press a button.
If we think of how the sales funnel always is, we've moved past, or we are moving quickly past the who, what, when, where, how, which would be the upper top. Everybody wants that bottom into what Chris just showed us, the pricing. They want to get closer. So those landing pages, the price pages, the solution pages are so much more important in our websites or on our websites to provide that information. So basically you want to build that bottom of the funnel extremely well in order to have that information ready for the AI. I think some of the one reason where, we used to just ask the simple near me or, hey, who can I find? And then it was the research that we did on our own. But now I think people feel like their problem is unique and they want to be very specific to see what is presented. So again, that's where the bottom of the funnel will become so important in 2026 and moving forward, that we do need to have those pages fine-tuned. It's just not one landing page. It's not just the one contact form that you're like, all the CTAs go to this form for them to complete. That's not going to get the job done any longer.
Right.
No, and the agents are going to be the ones that are going to determine that, right?
Yes.
And they're going to know if you've got an online estimator or not. Okay, so in the roofing industry, there's Roofle, there's Roofer, right? Those are code that you can install on your website that'll do a good, better, best estimate, right? It uses satellite imagery. It uses if you already know that you need to replace your roof, why go through the rigmarole of a process? Because in the roofing industry, you have, you've got to call somebody, you've got to schedule an appointment, you've got to show up to that appointment. You have to let them up on your roof. Then you have to wait sometimes upwards of a week to get an estimate on what that's going to take to replace that roof. What if you can do that instantly, right? And so now, what if you ask your Google Home, hey, can you go find me 3 estimates? I know I see I've got a leak. I know my roof is 15 years old. Let's get a new roof. Go find me 15 estimates now. And it goes out, gets those estimates for you and brings them back. Okay. As a homeowner. Okay. If you're not the one that has that functionality built on your website, if you haven't spent the time and money to ensure that you're in front of those AI bots, okay, that they're going to recommend you, you're going to lose. And you can no longer act as if it's 2015 with your website. Okay. It's beyond
that pricing content. So not even just the estimator, but do you have articles written about what is the average price of carpet cleaning in the the North Shore suburbs of Chicago, right? And mention them off. And so and then one of your other suburbs and the other areas you target, and have that content on your website refreshed regularly, where you're not giving a quote, you're giving different methods, different pricing, how to choose. Yeah, sure. It'd be great if a human read that. I don't care anymore. The AI is going to read that and give that thoughtful answer, because you've structured the content well. The H1s and H2s and H3s and way too technical, but are now in question format. And the answer is the first sentence. That is how AI is picking stuff up. So you got FAQ, schema. And again, you don't need to know that, but does your web developer and SEO company know what I just said? Because if they don't, hire somebody
it's really important to call that out, because for so long we've been really focused on the user experience of a website, the online, conversion, all of that. Still important, but this is taking it to a whole nother degree, that the human users are not necessarily, the only group, I'll say, that are looking at your website, using your website, scanning your website, all the things. So it's a whole different, you gotta make it for the agents, even the agents that don't exist yet. It's coming.
Yeah.
Cool. I think hopefully we've hammered this home a bit. This is a good wrap of what 2025 is. Probably next episode, we'll get into what we see coming in 2026, a little bit of prognosticating. There's a big word for us. If anybody's got any famous last words before we wrap it up, I think we've given people a lot to think about over the holidays, or whenever you're listening to this in the new year. Anybody got any last famous words before we wrap?
I just think that the time to start is now.
Right.
Yeah. Even if it's baby steps, doing one thing will keep you in front of others that are like, I'll get to it.
Sure. Yeah. Hey, well, everybody, follow, subscribe, buttons, press them wherever you are, whatever you're on. Share this with your friends and family in business. Everybody needs to know this. Hopefully you find value in this. Comment in the comments wherever below. We read them. If you got any ideas for shows, great. If you have any ideas for guests, we like taking guests on as well, and all of that kind of stuff. And until next time, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys all next time.